Hello and welcome to the second ever Hemm Productions podcast. It's been an eventful week both in movie news and for me doing work here. I've been very productive and wrote some pretty depraved shit over the weekend. Plus I saw a couple new movies that I'm excited to bang on about. And Wednesday, which is today, I have my tickets booked for one battle after another. So by the time you're all listening to this, I will have seen what could be a Best Picture nominee from one of my all-time faves, Paul Thomas Anderson. The movie has gotten amazing press so far, with a few of my favourite critics giving it a perfect score. But I'm still trying to keep my hype in check. You never know how these things play out. Hopefully I can convince some of my family and more normie friends to go see it, with Leo giving a pretty totemic performance. I'm interested to see how it will perform in Australia. We aren't known for showing up to the biggest art house hits of the year, but I'm always ready to be surprised. And Leo always makes box office. So speaking of box office, this week we'll be reading off two box office reports, as last week the box office report wasn't quite ready yet. And because of that, I've decided to move the show to Thursday, which makes more sense for discussing box office as well as new release movies. If I see a movie early, I can tell you about it the day it comes out. And so that's the new schedule, just letting the 0 people listening know that that's what's happening. Anyway, let's get into the news. So the biggest news story dropped just hours after recording the podcast last week. This was the news of Hollywood legend Robert Redford sadly passing away in his sleep at 89 years old. For people of my generation, they may barely remember seeing him in recent Marvel movies. But to my parents and everyone alive in his heyday, he was one of the biggest stars on the planet. Both off and on the screen, in front and behind the camera. He was a visionary actor and a visionary filmmaker, a visionary man. In tribute to Redford, I caught up on two classics I'd never seen, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Way We Were. Both big movie star performances, but completely different sides of the coin. In The Sundance Kid, his menace, his keen eyes and twirly mustache makes him the perfect rapscallion to root for and follow. Plus the chemistry between him and Paul Newman is beyond anything I've seen in a Western before. I've only seen it in a heist film, for the Sting fans out there. I followed that up with The Way We Were, in which he plays an even more tempered pretty boy. It's impossible not to get caught up in his gaze throughout the movie, with every line reading dropping such confidence and ability. He's able to convey so much of the internal struggle of this movie, speaks without words. His star power only improves next to Barbra Streisand, who's one of my favourite screen actresses ever. And I can't believe it took me this long to watch this movie. They lift each other up and make an unforgettable film. I remember The Old Man and the Gun coming out and me hearing about the famous swan song performance of Robert Redford, and before I went and saw that movie, I caught up on a few of his films, All the President's Men, The Sting, The Natural, and I really understood the context for this guy, and then saw him deliver a knockout performance in The Old Man and the Gun, which is a hit I'd recommend to anybody interested in seeing some of the legacy of this great actor. He also went to found the Sundance Film Festival, which is the birthplace of independent cinema in America. Many filmmakers, fans, and cinephiles wouldn't be who they are today without Redford. And for those of you who have only been introduced to him with the topical news, jump in anywhere. I listed a bunch of movies, any of them is a great starting place. Next on the docket is a huge can of worms of a news that I begrudgingly feel the need to cover. I'm a shitstorm on practically every news station, so I barely need to repeat it. Disney, parent company of ABC, the American cable network, not the Australian public access media division, has taken Jimmy Kimmel off the air for comments relating to the murder of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. I really don't want to say any more than I have to about this. The day before I upload this, we found out that Kimmel will be returning. So the indefinite hiatus only proved to be about a week or so. He's only missed one show, I believe. I've been a fan of late night TV for a long time, and Kimmel isn't my cup of tea exactly. But to see this happen in the same year as Stephen Colbert getting axed is really worrying. I'm not interested in the whole free speech debate. ABC has the right to take him off the air. If anybody is violating the First Amendment, it's the Trump government coercing ABC into taking Kimmel off the air. But of course, they have no interest in fighting them on that, as they have many trade deals I'm sure they would like to get through. Yeah, I brought this topic up not to start a whole shit show about politics, but simply to say I'm very depressed about late night seeming to go away. Apparently, even being a huge centrist late-night talk show host is considered being radical left in Trump's America. And so he's talked about wanting to go after Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon. It's a worrying state of affairs for that industry. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. And I don't know why I brought this topic up. Everyone knows about it. I can't add anything meaningful. I wish late night wasn't dying. So to end on what I thought would be more positive news is finally, after 6 years, we've got a trailer for a new Star Wars film. If any of you have heard of this, no, it's not Star Wars Rogue Starfighter or whatever that Sean Levy piece of crap is going to be. Instead, we got the trailer for The Mandolorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau. I thought the trailer was pretty average. It looked like a trailer for an upcoming season of The Mandalorian. I'm kind of disappointed. I really thought Star Wars returning to the movies would be a little more triumphant, but ever since The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, it seems Disney does not want to do anything too risky with this franchise, and the trailer looks pretty average. I wasn't impressed at all. Anyway, that's it for the news. Let's get into the box office. Sweet, here we are finally back with the box office. So we'll do last weekend's first. This is weekend 37, September 11th to the 14th. Number one release is, of course, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the movie, Infinity Castle. If anyone remembers the first Demon Slayer movie, it was such a big hit in Japan. It unseated Spirited Away as their highest grossing movie ever. So no doubt that's huge in Australia as well. We love anime releases here. Made $2.7 million across 357 theatres. That's as many theatres as number 2, The Conjuring Last Rites, which made $1.7 million. Number 1 last week. It's already dropped 1 position, but it's holding pretty steadily, actually. We got another debut, Downton Abbey, the grand finale, which I'll be seeing with my grandma. Then we have The Roses, The Long Walk, the latest Stephen King adaptation, which I hear is pretty good. We have Mirai, which is... What is Mirai? Let's click on this. A warrior is tasked with the protection 9 sacred scriptures that can turn any mortal into a deity. So that's that. No, I haven't seen Loka Chapter 1 Chandra yet. We got Weapons at number 7. Weapons still holding. Made over almost $7 million in Australia. Crazy. Conjuring has almost made that much already, but Weapons is not a franchise, so that's good. Then we have Freakier Friday, the Toy Story re-release, and number 10 we have Loka Chapter 1 Chandra. And just below that is one of the movies I saw this week, Splitsville. I also want to highlight down at number 21, Lesbian Space Princess, an animated Australian movie. Pretty low debut, unfortunately, only in 41 screens. It's being distributed by Umbrella. I saw it back at the Sydney Film Festival. I think it's very good. Maybe I'll go rewatch it and do an episode on it. So, that's last week. Now, the most recent box office, weekend 38. And we have The Conjuring back at number 1. If there's one thing consistent about Australian box office, it's that horror movies always top the charts. So Demon Slayer already below that at number 2. We have The Bad Guys 2, which I also saw at a drive-in. That almost made $1 million in Australia. It was very good. I recommend it. It's better than the first one. Then we have Downton Abbey again. Number 5, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. That's a pretty bad debut for that movie. I'll talk about it in a second. We have Kangaroo, Australian film. I'll catch up on that one next week. The Roses. We've got Jolly LLB 3 from Mind Blowing Films. Let me take a look at this. Looks to be another Hindi release. Looks pretty good. Not as good as Loka, which I will be seeing. I will be seeing Loka, whether you like it or not. Anyway, below that, we've got The Long Walk, which has dropped a little bit, but it's still in there. Horror movies do well here. And then 731 at number 10. What is 731? Looks to be set against the backdrop of the bacterial experiments conducted by the Japanese Imperial Army in northeast China. Reveals the crimes of Unit 731. Wow. So, a drama, history, mystery, thriller, war. Anyway, not a very interesting box office weekend, actually. Sound of Music is in here, which is cool to see. I guess that's been re-released. We've got a few other debuts. Caught Stealing still in there. Wow. Eddington right down the bottom. Crazy that Eddington's made so little money. I feel like One Battle After Another will make a lot more money, despite being quite a similar film. Now we can get into that portion of the show. Let's talk the movies that I've seen this week. Okay, wow. So, the start of the episode I said I hadn't seen One Battle After Another yet, but now I have, and I've wrote quite a lot about it. So I might have to shorten some of my reviews for Splitsville and Big Bold Beautiful Journey, just because I want to actually focus on what I think is the best movie of the year so far. But these couple films did tickle me a little bit. Not in a gross way, not in a Christmas adventure kind of way. Sweet, so I was looking forward to this one. Dakota Johnson started another romance film this year, but that one wasn't exactly a comedy, which really angered a lot of people. This one leans into more sexual taboos than Materialist did. Earlier this year, Materialist came out and sort of presented itself as a rom-com, but was actually a pretty sobering drama about dating and the decision-making that goes into, choosing your life partner. Pretty big sort of stuff, I've heard. It's a very good movie, but its marketing left fans wanting an actual comedy with Dakota Johnson and some love triangles. So if that was you, Splitsville is what you're looking for. It's a comedy about monogamy, following two couples whose friendship erupts into conflict when the husband of the divorcing couple sleeps with the wife of the open marriage couple. Whoa. It opens with a somewhat harrowing but hilarious opening of a married couple trying to keep an obvious dead spark from arriving. Also a massive car crash. A lot of car crashes this week. Anyway, that sets the tone for the entire film. Isn't it awful to be cheated on? Now what should happen for the majority of the runtime? It's quite uncomfortable territory that even the most lowbrow rom-coms stray away from because it's a little too sad, a little unbearable, maybe a little pathetic, hard to relate to characters constantly being cucked. But it's cringy, borderline tragicomedy in the best way. That and the surprisingly deep friendship at the core of the film, I thought it would be more romance-focused, but it really is a movie about friendship. Dakota's top billed, but the two male leads are the best part of the film. Their wives swap back and forth, they trade ego jabs, they lie through their teeth. Michelangelo Covino is the writer and director of the film, and his performance as Dakota's husband, a truly despicable mess of a human being, is my favorite part of the movie. Him and his best friend get into a fight in the middle of the movie, and it's so over the top funny, but choreographed as seriously as John Wick. This is the type of shit that's missing from comedies nowadays. Technically, the movie looks fantastic, and in the second half of the film, we've even got these really amazing one-ers that cleverly progress the plot and communicate the evolving dynamics of the household. I don't really want to say any more because it's quite a simple comedy. It hasn't made a lot of money. I hope some people go and see it. I think all of the actors work. Dakota really struggles here. At its core, this movie is about lying and jealousy and very raw emotions that I just don't think Dakota can carry. Yeah, it's quite raw territory, and it would hit harder if she gave a shit about the words that come out of her mouth. She's honestly a real disservice to the film. I like her. I like her as an actress. I liked her in Materialist, but yeah, she wasn't that funny. Anyway, the movie overall is very well made. I think the script is imperfect. It's not going to be a comedy for everyone. I find it a little more subversive than funny. It's a cut comedy of errors that pours salt on the audience's wounds over and over. I couldn't help but be impressed by the technical aspects though. It's not a perfect movie, but its cinematic quality and the performances, barring Dakota Johnson, are all really good. It's definitely unlike anything I've seen before, and it's worth it just for that. If you want interesting theatrical comedies, then this is one to watch. And I give it about 3 stars out of 5. So now I'll move on to A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. Now, this is a film I was convinced I would hate. I saw the trailer far too many times. It interested me, but it was really lacking charm and chemistry between the leads. The dialogue was really wooden, and it was just about everything I thought it would be. The one thing I didn't expect was to enjoy it. This is directed by Kogonada, whose other credits include After Yang and Columbus, which are 2 fine films with this slightly veiled, serene futurism to it. This is what I like about A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. The visuals, music by Joe Hisashi, and the plotting felt very relaxed and dreamlike. It was just a nice theatre to sit in. It's a sort of peaceful, iridescent world, beautiful raining, but the movie itself is a little bit of a dud. It follows Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, strangers who met at a wedding, following a GPS on a journey through time and space, reliving their past memories again without the ability to change anything. A simple but effective premise that keeps the whole film sentimental. It's really a film about kind of looking back on your life, your bold, beautiful journey. But the journey that we take on this movie is not quite so beautiful and not quite so bold. It plays with all the themes of Kogonada's last movies, even though he didn't write it, but it just doesn't hit. The chemistry between Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell is non-existent, and it's very difficult to make a compelling romance when it doesn't look like the characters belong together. It's a really unbelievable misstep to center a romance around this couple with no chemistry. It isn't solely the fault of the actors. I think the dialogue is pretty stilted and overwritten. This all being said, I don't think the journey was nearly big or bold enough, but it was beautiful enough that I left the theatre reflecting on my own memories. I can't really make a huge recommendation for it unless you really like After Yang or Columbus. I think this is a decent follow-up, but certainly not the rip-roaring out of the park hit it should have been for Kogonada. I can't deny that I enjoyed watching it. It's just kind of my type of film. I love a sort of talkie that's really peaceful, has just a nice vibe. You have a soda, sit back in your seat and watch it and kind of enjoy it, and then leave, maybe reflecting on your life a little bit, you know. But I don't think this will cross over with mainstream audiences, and I think Kogonada fans would be pretty upset. I think his attempt to appeal to a wider audience only ends up segregating the audience a little further. It's not hitting the high notes that After Yang had or the strong philosophical implications, and it's not entertaining enough as a romance, a comedy, or a compelling drama for regular audiences. So only freaks like me that watch everything will really get anything out of it, and even then it's pretty slim returns. I think you can honestly skip this one. I'd give it about 2.5 stars. I never thought about the plot again. I just started to think, what would my big, bold, beautiful journey be? So I guess my advice is, if you want to have a reflective, kind of somber journey, maybe just put the soundtrack on, you know, have a toke, maybe meditate, and have your own beautiful journey. And now, what I actually have really wanted to talk about, bloody one battle after another. So I watched it just last night, and I was screaming. This movie is screaming. America is on fire. I don't know how it would be to live in that country and watch this movie touch such a nerve, almost as close as Eddington did this year. But like Eddington, it's not a touchy-feely tell you a message movie. It's not stupid enough to try and fix the shit show happening in America with that orange idiot running around. It's simply a mirror held up to the audience, wrapped in a thrilling car chase action Christmas adventure of the all-too-real war between freedom fighters and psychopathic white supremacists. Sean Penn plays a white supremacist military figure, Stephen Lockjaw, who basically unleashes the force of the American military on a small town to try and kidnap the daughter of an ex-freedom fighter, Bob Ferguson, played hilariously by Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a paranoid stoner with the grace that the dude himself would respect, but he's also a caring father. And when his daughter is kidnapped, the snowballing, didn't ask for this type shit kind of plot begins, and from then on it's a 100-mile-an-hour chase scene with Alfred Molina in the background doing coke and the kid throwing firecrackers at the wall. You never believe what you're watching. The absurdity is so funny, but it's also so genuine. I found so many lines to be so poignant, so stupidly poignant, and just all the characters are hilarious, and discovering them, well, we've just got a whole new cast of PTA characters. What more is there to say? It's so entertaining, and you're never expecting what's coming next. But take away all these real-world parallels, take away the comedy, take away the raw emotion, and you've still got the best-looking action movie of the year. The cinematography is so good, it makes its shot and VistaVision a real selling point rather than a novelty. There's a pivotal chase scene towards the end that's nothing like you've seen in a blockbuster and takes advantage of the natural landscape to make compelling action. It's rare to see a movie set in 2025 with such involved, long shots, these beautiful, intimate close-ups. It's filmed like nothing I've seen before, especially in the action space. It's like art house cinematography applied to a Fast and Furious movie, and in the end, it all ties together perfectly. If I was ever feeling uneven during the movie, it might have been during the prologue. I just wasn't sure where the movie was going, but then very quickly, it goes off the rails in the best way possible. The slower paced prologue was worth it for the chaos that we get throughout the rest of the movie. This very much feels like a movie of the moment. It's a hilarious, beautiful movie with all the outstanding production qualities, writing and score that'll surely rack it up massive Oscar noms as we see for PTA. But this time, he really deserves it. Practically any of the actors could get nominations, from the supporting cast to the lead performers. I didn't talk about the female leads in the movie. I thought, who really the whole movie kind of rests on her shoulders, Chase Infinity playing Willa, she's brilliant. The woman being kidnapped in question. And Regina Hall as Deandra, also just outstanding stuff. And yeah, it's PTA, baby. I'm going to see it again today. Viva la Revolution, sensei. It's a 5 out of 5 masterpiece. Wowee, that was a long episode. Anyway, hopefully I won't have as totemic an episode to plan for next week. I'm not sure what I'll be getting to watch, but probably one battle after another again. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts after I've seen it once more, or who knows, maybe twice more. Seriously, people, it's pretty good. I can't believe I led the show with Splitsville and A Big Bold Beautiful Journey originally. Anyway, that's it for the Hemm Productions podcast. Everybody, go watch some movies, and I'll see you next week.